Hi, I'm Elise Nelson, and this is my review of my Illustrator entry for Imagine Forest Life. First, I'm going to talk about my learning goal. For this project, I wanted to just kind of get a good project in and get good things done with it, but also I had to make sure I could do it in the time that I was allowed. It wasn't really about learning new things, it was more of making a good product in the time that I was given and making sure that I was happy with the result. Now, the technology that I used first was Illustrator CS6, and I did this project on my MacBook Air. And I also used the Wacom Bamboo tablet to help with all of the drawing by hand. Now for my project plan review. This was the outline structure of how I was going to go about doing this project and making sure I could stay on task with that. On week 1, I decided to finish coming up with my final idea because I had about 5 or 6 bouncing around that I wasn't sure which one I wanted to do. So I would use that week to finalize which of those ideas I wanted to use, and that I was going to make sure that I could do in the amount of time that I was given. On week 2, I said that I would begin on my idea and find videos. I didn't end up actually using any tutorials whatsoever. I figured everything out on my own, and that was a little bit stressful, but it also allowed me to create things exactly how I wanted them to look without having to mix and match ideas from different people, which can sometimes get confusing. So I began on my idea, and it was going really well. And then on week 3, I had that I would begin working on the focus of my piece. I didn't end up working on the focus of my piece until about a few days before the project was due. Um, I spent all the rest of the time working on the backgrounds, which were very, very detail oriented, and I had trouble getting the shading and the highlighting exactly as I wanted it. So I continued working on the backgrounds for week 4 and 5 as well. Now, on week 6 is when I really began working on the main focuses of my piece, and I think those turned out pretty well. I would have liked to have given myself a little bit more time to work on those instead of right rushed at the last minute. I would have had a little bit more time to plan it out, maybe, because all of this I basically just came up with the ideas as I went along. I didn't really know what I was doing until I decided to do it, and that was a little bit scary, but it ended up working out for me. This is about the middle of my project. You can see here I've got a good start on my trees. I think I'm only adding 2 more past this point, and you can see I have all of the areas of my grass mapped out, as well as some of the bits of my little specter ghosts. With my trees, the first one took about an hour and a half to complete, and other than that, they all took about 45 minutes to get to this point. Here you can see I have gotten at least the base color down for all of my sections of grass. I've gotten a lot of those completed. I will continue to go back and add more and more shading on those, as well as the trees on the right side. And you can see I have deleted the arms of my specter. And here is my project about 2 days before it's due, after I get all of my specters in. And this is my final project. You can see it looks basically the same as the screenshot that I took 2 days before. I added a little bit more shading in the grass and on the trees, but other than that, it's basically the same as it was. I also might have touched up a little bit on my specters to make them look a little bit more defined than they were. All in all, I was really happy with the final product of my work with Illustrator, and I'm pretty happy of the project that I'm going to be sending to Imagine. If I could redo parts of it, I definitely would spend a little bit more time on the specters, because those are just a little bit lacking with the detail of the rest of the piece. I'd probably add a little bit more definition, play around with the blur tool and the opacity and the actual brushes themselves, the best ones to use with those features, and just kind of make them look a little bit more defined, a little bit scarier, maybe add a few more. I also would add a little bit more shading and definition to some of the other trees because you can really only see a lot of details on two of them. One of them is the very first tree that I did, so obviously that one is going to be one of the best. And then also I would spend a little bit more time on my grass, especially with the shading and then with the different shades of the grass that I used, and blending all of those together and making sure that they still look really defined, even though they're supposed to kind of blend. I don't know, we just have to see. If I got to redo it again, maybe I'd do the entire project differently. In any case, thank you for your time, and thank you for stopping to watch my reflection video on my Imagine entry for 2016.